Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Have you ever just sat back and wondered why some folks seem to effortlessly get richer while so many others are literally stuck living paycheck to paycheck? And here is the absolute wildest part about it. This happens to people even when they are bringing in really good money. It's a total paradox, right? You get a raise, maybe land a sweet new job with a nice bump in pay, but somehow you still feel absolutely broke by the end of the month. It's like you're sprinting on a treadmill but going nowhere.
So let me ask you directly. Do you feel like you earn decent money, but somehow you're still broke? If you're nodding along right now, trust me, you are definitely not alone. Actually, you might fall into the 90% of folks who just stay broke their whole lives, despite working incredibly hard. It is super frustrating. But today we're unpacking a massive truth from our source material that is going to totally shift your perspective. Because the real issue keeping you stuck, it's not actually about how much cash you're pulling in. It is entirely about what you do with that cash the literal second after you earn it. Yeah, it turns out the problem is completely behavioral, not just mathematical.
Let's jump into Section 1, the money mistake everyone makes.
We really need to visualize the hidden engine that's keeping so many hardworking people completely trapped in this stressful financial loop. So think about the standard pattern most of us follow. Step 1, you earn your money. Step 2, you pay your bills, rent, utilities, maybe that car payment. And then step 3, you spend whatever happens to be left over on groceries, hanging out with friends, and just generally living your life. Sound pretty familiar? I mean, it's the reality for the vast majority of us. But in this specific sequence, saving or investing is treated as a total afterthought. It's pushed to the absolute bottom of the priority list. We kind of trick ourselves psychologically, right? We tell ourselves, hey, if there's money left at the end of the month, I'll definitely save it. But let's be real. There almost never is. Human nature basically guarantees that if the money is just sitting there available to be spent, it's gonna get spent.
And here is the really painful consequence of that exact behavioral loop. At the end of the month, absolutely nothing remains. Zero. Zilch. You hit refresh on your banking app, and yeah, that balance is painfully low. And then we just repeat this exact same cycle for years, maybe even decades, always crossing our fingers that the next raise will be the one that finally gives us some breathing room. Actually, our source material highlights a critical phenomenon here called lifestyle creep. This is basically your spending creeping up right alongside your income. You could literally double your salary tomorrow, but if you stick to this exact same routine, you're just going to end up with more expensive bills, a fancier apartment, pricier dinners out, and still zero savings. You are making twice as much, but you end up with nothing because your core habits haven't fundamentally changed.
Which brings us to Section 2, the rich person formula.
So let's look at the fix. We're going to see how shifting just one single step in that old cycle unlocks a completely different financial trajectory for your future. What do wealthy individuals actually do differently? Well, they use a fundamental concept called pay yourself first. It's essentially the practice of investing a specific portion of your earnings before you pay a single bill or spend a single dime on yourself. Rich folks make this deliberate mental shift to prioritize their own future wealth the absolute second they get paid. It's literally the first thing that happens when that paycheck hits the bank account. And by doing this, they create this sort of artificial scarcity. Think about it. If you immediately funnel money away into investments, you are forced to figure out how to live on whatever is left, which completely short-circuits that dangerous lifestyle creep we just talked about.
Just contrast that standard broke pattern with the rich pattern. In the old way, remember, it was earn, pay bills, spend. But in the new wealth-building way, you earn, you invest first, and then you spend. Obviously, you still pay your bills, you still enjoy your life, but investing has basically skipped the line to become the VIP priority. It's not an afterthought waiting for leftovers anymore. By literally scrambling the order of operations, you are guaranteeing that your future self gets funded before your present self can accidentally spend it all on, stuff you won't even remember buying a year from now.
So let's make this super practical. How much should you actually move to the front of the line? Well, a really solid rule of thumb from our source is 10%. So say you earn $1,000 a month. You should immediately take 10%, which is $100, and invest it before doing literally anything else. Before the rents, before the groceries, before you renew those streaming subscriptions. Now, hold on. I know what you might be thinking. If I'm truly living paycheck to paycheck, moving 10% feels mathematically impossible right now. And honestly, that is completely fine. The real insight here is all about building the habit itself. If 10% is too big of a leap, just start with 1%. Seriously, just 1%. Set up the automated system, prove to yourself that you can survive without that tiny little sliver, and then just slowly dial it up over time. Even a tiny amount invested consistently lays down a massive foundation.
Moving right along to Section 3, the power of compound interest.
So why does that 10% or even that 1% matter so much in the grand scheme of things? Well, it's all about the underlying mathematical magic that allows even the smallest, most consistent investments to grow into something huge over time. Now, you might be hearing the words algebraic formula and feeling a sudden wave of math anxiety coming on, but don't worry, we're going to keep it super simple. This is the compound interest formula. Future value equals present value times 1 plus the interest rate to the power of n, which is just the number of compounding periods. Okay, let's put that in plain English. This formula basically proves that your money acts like a tiny snowball rolling down a really long snowy hill. When you first pack it, it's tiny, right? But as it rolls down, it picks up a layer of snow. Then, that new, slightly bigger snowball picks up an even bigger layer. The growth just completely accelerates.
Our source material sums this up beautifully with this quote: "Your money starts earning money, and then those earnings earn even more money. That right there is the absolute secret engine of wealth. It is a massive chain reaction. When you pay yourself first and invest, you aren't just working for your money anymore. You are actually hiring your money to be your employee. It's like your money puts on a little hard hat, grabs a lunch pail, and goes to work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, completely skipping holidays. And eventually, the interest that your money earns, well, that starts going to work for you too."
And that perfectly sets up Section 4. Time is your best asset.
Let's translate all of this math into a real human story. We're going to look at two friends to see exactly why urgency, like starting right now, today, is your absolute biggest competitive advantage when it comes to building wealth. Imagine these two friends, Ali and Ahmed. Now, Ali really understands this pay-yourself-first rule, so he decides to start investing $100 every single month, starting at age 25. He even sets up an automatic transfer so he doesn't ever see the money leave his checking account. Smart, right? Ahmed, on the other hand, well, he wants to wait. He kind of figures he needs to be making a huge salary to start investing, or maybe he just gets caught up in life. Whatever the reason, he puts it off for a full decade, waiting until he's 35 to finally start taking his financial future seriously.
Now notice how this plays out over the course of their lives. Ali has given his money way more time to compound, and his portfolio just blossoms over the decades. But think about Ahmed. Ahmed wakes up one day, realizes he is 10 whole years behind, and honestly, he panics a little bit. So to try and catch up, he might start aggressively investing 3 or 4 times as much money every month as Ali did. But here's the crazy part. The math shows that Ali will very likely still end up with a significantly larger portfolio by retirement age. How is that possible? Simply because of compounding time. That extra 10 years gave Ali Snowball such a massive head start that it's almost statistically impossible for Ahmed to beat him, even by throwing huge chunks of cash at it later on in life.
Which brings us to a massive, totally undeniable takeaway from our source material: time is the absolute most valuable asset in investing. It really isn't about how much you earn at your 9 to 5, and honestly, it's not even about picking that absolute perfect lightning-in-a-bottle stock. The single greatest lever you have to pull is just time itself. It's about starting that pay-yourself-first engine as soon as humanly possible, even if the fuel you're putting in is literally just a few bucks a week. As the famous investing adage goes, time in the market always beats trying to time the market.
And that brings us to the end of this explainer. I really want to leave you with a provocative, actionable question to chew on. What is one financial habit you are going to start this week? Are you going to flip your financial cycle upside down right now? Will you commit to paying yourself first? Maybe set up that automatic transfer, even if it's just a tiny 10% or even 1%. Please, don't be like Ahmed and let an entire decade to slip through your fingers while you wait for the perfect moment. Take what you've learned here, intercept that paycheck, and start packing that compounding snowball today. Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and hey, keep paying yourself first.